Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni. Good morning, Emmanuel.
Good morning, Ruben. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Victoria Tundu. MQ Abiola.
Good morning, Mr.
Yes, missed you yesterday.
I missed you too.
Yeah. Let's start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. The lead story. FIRS to the rescue as Subsidy Gulps NNPC revenue. Revenue generating agencies now contribute over 60% to FARC. Cash-strapped Nigeria again loses $650.7 million crude to force majeure. Equipment failure, others. Yes, of course, this story by this day, Nigerian newspaper of record, yes, with a major chunk of Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited's monthly revenue now being channeled to the payment of fuel subsidy. Yes, the Federal Account and Allocation Committee now relies heavily on revenue from the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, for its monthly sharing. Yes, I think even as recent as last month, there was no money from oil sales to be shared. That is the situation. Ordinarily, if Nigeria was making more money from tax and other collections over and above oil, if we were producing at full capacity, OPEC capacity, and nobody stealing 85% of that production, then we would have been celebrating. But that is not the case. As we speak, yes, going by this report, which was released by the FIRS, 59.45% as out of the total of 8.912 trillion to the three tiers of government, which was shared to the three tiers of government, came from FIRS. Well, not surprising, but in fact, if we just look at the business day, put this in context before I come back to this day, the lead story of business day, fiscal time bomb, petrol subsidy hits 2.1 trillion naira. Nigeria has incurred an estimated petrol subsidy of 2.1 trillion naira in the first 6 months of this year. Are we subsidizing the entire West Africa? Maybe.
Yes,
Maybe. Yes. Now, if we just look at other stories, also on the front page of this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record, Ariwola emerges acting CJN after Mohammed is forced out. That's how this day is reporting it. Don't let Nigerians lose confidence in judiciary. Buhari wants Supreme Court justices. NBA links resignation to frosty relations with colleagues. Atiku comments ex-Chief Justice Makinde congratulates successor. Now, other newspapers have the same story. The Guardian newspaper, amid rift, Mohammed bows out. Ariwola becomes CJN. Yes, the Nation newspaper is reporting suspected memory disorder forced ex-CJN Tanko to quit. Justice Ariwola steps in as acting Chief Justice of Nigeria. Yes, the reason given by the outgone Chief Justice of Nigeria, Tanko Mohammed, is health reasons. But we know that is going out in a gale of protestations by his fellow justices, which some people, well, the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria said it was an internal memo. But people like Reuben Abati will have none of that, saying rebellion at the apex court. That was how he titled his article last Sunday on the back page of this day. So not many will just take...
Well, Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday. Yeah. Yes. Not many will accept. No, that's last week Tuesday.
Okay.
Yes. Not many will accept that indeed it was just illness that made the Chief Justice, Tanko Mohammed, to resign. Well, did he resign? Was he pushed? Who pushed him? Why was he pushed? Well, I hope, some mischievous people were also going to say it was the appearance of one Urobo man, a worry guy, with inborn sense of humor, who gave interpretation to that judgment with his regalia that frightened the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Tanko Mohammed, to resign. But of course, I know that was just an aside. But again, for lawyers, what will you say is the legacy of the outgone Chief Justice of Nigeria? Well, you talk about, President Muhammad Buhari called his achievement modest. Was that an hyperbole for an underperforming tenure? Or is just stating it as it is? But we talk of landmark judgments. I can't remember any. But we remember two. Of course, the Imo election judgment. How number 4 became number 1.
Wow.
And do you remember?
Quite remarkable.
God has a landmark ruling.
No, I said no. You usually talk of landmark ruling, but for we laymen, the one we remember is what I'm talking about.
I remember technicalities.
Yes, technicality. No, that was his at the Senate hearing.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and you lawyers will tell us, well, we know everything. Lawyers, we are learned. Well, some of us just overlook such things. Well, the other, of course, yes, we overlook their claim to learnedness. But when somebody at the apex, at the peak of his career, is saying technicality and defining something else, we just behave as if we did not even take notice of that.
Of hate speech.
Yes. Now, the other judgment, the hijab case, which has given that my brother Malcolm Virobo, and is giving it clear interpretation. Yeah. Well, let's just look at other stories quickly, and I'll come back to you.
Now, you still have up to 10 minutes. Take your time.
Okay.
Look at the paper.
Okay.
Cover the field.
So since we have enough time, let's just look at how the newspapers are reporting this story. Of course, the Vanguard, the newspaper, citing Hill-held CJN quits after row with Supreme Court justices. Now, the Punch newspaper, Supreme Court, NBA wants ex-CJN probed. Ariwola sworn in, workers demand autonomy. Ex-CJN probe necessary for justice administration, says NBA will have been vindicated. Justices are awake from slumber. This is the judicial union, and no allegation should be swept under the carpet. CSOs insist. But for the new acting Chief Justice of Nigeria is the first person who is coming to office, which I don't want to call it manifesto, but he has a to-do list, a must-do list, because he was part of those who wrote that petition. So we'll be ticking every of those issues they raised, how he's addressing them, how they don't get diesel, despite the fact that diesel has gone to 800 naira. We will not accept that as excuse for justices not having diesel in their generators to do their work. So it's also putting Justice Kayode Ariola on the spot. It's not enough to just write petition. Now you have to do the talk. Organize the place. Make it run properly. If Tanko Mohammed was only taking care of himself and perhaps his family. Now it's your turn. Now let's look at how Daily Trust is reporting this story. How Tanko Mohammed was forced to resign as CJN. Intrigues that led to his ouster. Ariola takes over in acting capacity. I will not fail Nigeria, new CJN will help cleanse the organs table. NBA, yes. Mr. Olumide Akpata, the tough-talking NBA president. I think it was a good thing lawyers looked over senior advocates of Nigeria in picking him as their leader. And you can see he's been spitting fire and ticking all the right boxes. Olumide Akpata, I'm sure he will keep the fire burning behind the new CJN to ensure that the temple of justice is sanitized, as it were. Now, the new Telegraph newspaper, Buhari swears in Ariola as acting CJN as Tanko resigned, cites ill health. Yes, the Daily Sun, untold story of CJN's resignation. But if we just look at other stories being reported in the newspapers. If we go back to New Telegraph newspaper, there's a story there. Below the photograph, tension as Ansaru terrorists ban political activities in parts of Kaduna, abduct office-bound DPO. Zamfara governor can't order CP to issue license. Sidel, the chief of defense staff, says only president can instruct military. Matawale's directive indication of security collapse. Akeredolu, JTF dislodges over 63 gunmen in Nnewi South, recovers armory. Now, if we look at the front page of, the Punch newspaper, above the masthead, Tinubu's men woo parties without presidential candidates. Others, yes, of course, there are a number of parties without presidential candidates. And that story, talking about how the APC flag bearer and his team are wooing those parties to their side. Now, the Vanguard newspaper, below the photograph, self-defense, chief of defense staff disagrees with Khan, MBF on Zamfara governor. Yes, many have applauded or supported the governor of Zamfara State, Matawale, on that call for Nigerians, for his people to get licensed and get weapons to protect themselves because they are not comfortable. That those in authority, those who have the mandate to protect lives and property, are doing a good job of that. Of course, expect that the chief of defense staff will not find that funny because he and his men seem to, at least in their own calculation, and in the eyes of many, are giving their best to the nation, putting their lives on the line. But we are not safe yet. And until Nigerians can sleep with two eyes closed when they are driving across the land, we'll continue to hold the commander-in-chief, President Muhammadu Buhari, to account for this. Now, if we look at the foreign newspapers quickly, the Times of London, Putin will pay for his barbarity. Prime Minister insists NATO to place 300,000 troops on high alert. Trained for war with Russia, British Army told. Well, world leaders have condemned, of course, what the term barbaric attack on a shopping center in Ukraine that killed at least 10 people as a war crime, saying that it has strengthened their resolve to resist Russian aggression. Of course, Boris Johnson himself calls it callous, cowardly, and ultimately counterproductive attack that will strengthen the support for Ukraine. Of course, this was during the G7 meeting. Now, the Guardian of London, prospect of strike grows as doctors eye 30% deal. Doctors have thrown down their gauntlet. The Guardian is reporting to the government by calling for a pay rise of up to 30% over the next 5 years in a move that increases the chances of a strike action. Of course, sounds familiar. Of course, we've not heard a long while from the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors. They seem to have left strike matters to university teachers and other unions in the academic environment. But in the UK, the doctors are ready for a strike. And doctors, the delegates at the British Medical Association annual conference have voted to press home their demand for pay rise by embarking on the strike because the doctors see the rail workers as a model, an inspiration of how groups should press home their interest and fight for pay rise. Ruben Rufai and Tundu. Come, Tundu. Over to you.
Talking about strikes, well, I find very interesting the editorial of the Punch newspaper in Nigeria today, where the Punch newspaper is drawing attention to the fact that more than 5 months later, the federal government of Nigeria has not been able to find any solution or reach any sort of agreement with striking teachers of Nigerian universities and polytechnics, and the implications of all of this. In the middle of all of this, the other day, the Minister of Labor and Productivity said that, government and ASU have been able to reach...
Dr. Chris Ngige.
Yes, some form of compromise. Only for ASU leaders to come out immediately to say that that is not true. And meanwhile, if you measure this in terms of the loss within the education system, some parents were complaining yesterday that they are spending more, and that children who have been stranded at home for almost 5 months, they are consuming more food and adding to the families, to the budget.
If it is the food, I don't think that is the least of our problem as parents.
But some parents complain about that. But the bigger problem, I know.
The main problem.
You have been a long-suffering victim of federal government ASU crisis. When a child is supposed to spend 2-3 years, 4 years maximum for a program, some of them will spend 6 years, 7 years. I think you find yourself in a situation one day where a child that was in a private university already had completed a master's program. The other one was still at home because of ASU. Anyway, don't let me reveal family secrets. That's the kind of thing, that many parents are going through. But more important is the fact that, our education system is collapsing. Yeah. By the time many of these kids return to school, they will have forgotten whatever they were taught. From maybe first year to second year, it will be like starting university education afresh. So, I'm concerned about that strike. In the UK, yes, rail workers on strike, NHS workers say they are going on strike, British Airways workers are threatening to go on strike, doctors now are threatening to join. Yes, lawyers are threatening to join, all because of the cost of living crisis that they face, in the UK, as is the case also elsewhere. And then, unfortunately, they are, saddled with a prime minister, who seems to be a little bit absent-minded on some of the major issues of the day. That's one.
Very absent-minded.
The second one.
Ruben, you are exonerating the lecturers as if they are saints in this matter. Lecturers who decide to behave as mine workers and want to follow...
University teachers in Nigeria are saying agreements are sacrosanct.
So the system must die.
Pacta sunt servanda.
The system must die.
If you reach
and you claim to be trying, you want to protect the system?
No, it's about the sanctity of agreements.
If you reach this matter agreement, in a long while,
you must abide by it. If not, then you negotiate. Not that you go and lie that you are negotiating when you are not negotiating. Can the party negotiate with itself in a conflict situation? And then, of course, quickly, FIRS to the rescue as subsidy Gulps NNPC's revenue. Well, I don't know. Some people may celebrate this and say, well, if we don't get money from NNPC, at least we're getting something from Federal Inland Revenue Service. Don't forget, Federal Inland Revenue Service, that's a revenue generating thing. Tax. Now, and one of the major issues in this country has been tax administration, tax management. When you collect tax from people, you tell them you are going to use it for development purposes. Now, we are not using taxation again for development purposes. We are now using it to subsidize fuel. So other sectors, as a result of subsidy, suffer. Health, another infrastructure, and other issues. And now we're told it's 2.7 trillion. It's probably more than that.
Ruben, according to Business Day report, in the first 6 months of this year, 2.1 trillion naira spent on subsidy. Enough to take care of ASU problem and other critical sectors.
We need to go, but I hope what FIRS is quoting and all these revenue generating agencies, I hope you know that many of our revenue generating agencies, they don't remit, which was a major problem.
But the TSA, Treasury single account.
Well, but
which your boss introduced, popularized,
I remember,
and implemented by Muhammadu
But
Buhari.
we need to keep monitoring and make sure that there is real integrity in terms of the process. Well, thank you very much, Emmanuel Ofene. Thank you.